All right. Hey, how's it going? My name's Victor Burgos with Burgos Games. Um, I was born and raised in the United States. I enlisted into the United States Marine Corps right after September 11th, 2001. Actually, just in November of that year. I served 12 years in the Marine Corps. I deployed twice in the Middle East. I went to Japan, Thailand. I've been all over the United States also. About after 12 years in the Marines, I got out and I went to school at Savannah College of Art and Design, also known as SCAD, and I studied game development there. Even before graduation, I was already freelancing and working for other studios. I graduated and started doing freelance basically full time until I landed my first full time gig position at Monochrome Games, and I worked on Contagion VR Outbreak for them. I ended up shipping their demo and early access releases and leaving their project about 6 months after the EA release due to some unforeseen circumstances. Uh, right after that, though, I started Burgos Games and had actually been working on another VR project until my current game that I've been developing, uh, Neko Ghost Jump, basically took up all of my time.
Okay, that's a big swap from military to game dev.
That's right. Yeah.
In a nutshell, what kind of game are we going to talk about?
So, Neko Ghost Jump is a 2D, 3D puzzle platformer where you not only switch between 2D and 3D camera perspectives, but also between your physical form and ghost form. You do this to solve puzzles, combat enemies, and also clear levels faster. There's also leaderboards in every level that will entice people that are very competitive, and so that they and speedrunners also. You can basically compete to get whoever gets the fastest times in every level. There's also hundreds of customization options. So for those that just want to be, they want to take their sweet time, or they want to be 100% completionist and stuff like that, they can just basically plunder all the coins in every level. Replay the levels as much as they want, plunder as much coins as they want, and deck out their cat basically, the character. Okay, so what's the question? Because the question that you gave me was, what inspired you to become an indie game developer?
Yeah, and now I said, what inspired you to make a game like this?
Okay, so that's the question, right?
Yeah.
What inspired me to become a game like this? So originally it was a game jam submission to a hashtag UE4 game jam back in May 2019. So that competition was 5 days long, and the theme was other side of the coin. So basically, I was thinking like, what are two things that are opposites but relate to each other? After some discussion with the team, it was like, okay, I came up with the 2D and 3D aspect of the game. Basically, cameras, right? So in video games, especially platformers, you either have 2D or 3D camera perspectives. You typically don't have both, and obviously, you have first person perspective too, but 2D and 3D, and then also between your physical form and your ghost form. So it's kind of relating to your body. You can have a spiritual um, counterpart, I guess you want to say. And so that's basically how the game came about from that theme. And now it's gotten a little bit more crazier. Actually, it's more involved. We've taken those two core concepts and like expanded upon it.
Okay. And what inspired you to become an indie game developer?
So honestly, I've always wanted to become one. As a little kid, I grew up with a Nintendo Entertainment System, the original. My aunt and uncle, they had the original, Atari 2600. So I've always grown around up with video games. I had a PC IBM 386 back in the day, and so from console video games to PC gaming, I've always been involved with gaming all my life, and I always wanted and I aspired to become one. And I actually wanted to go to school for computer science before the whole 9/11 thing happened, and so I had already been trying to get to that point, and it just things didn't work out as fast as I had hoped, basically.
For how long have you been working on this project?
So, like I said earlier, the submission for the game jam was last May 2019, and then basically soon after that, I asked my teammates, who wants to stay on board for this game? I think we could polish this up and make it, really good if we expand, the core concepts of core game mechanics, and tighten up the gameplay, polish it up. And so it was also a good opportunity for me to see if I could manage a team for my own first commercial title, right? Because originally I was going to start a solo dev project with a VR project, which I could have finished, but this was like a really good opportunity to see, can I manage a good, a decent sized team, and complete it successfully. Only 2 of the original team members actually stayed back with me, and so I've had to grow the team as much. Now we have 9 team members total working on this game.
Okay, that's a lot of people.
That's right. Yeah. So too long with the written version. There is we've been working on a game for just under a year.
Okay, and what makes this game different from others?
Let's be honest here. Being different in this day and age is extremely hard, right? Every game out there is either a derivative or it's using some kind of gameplay mechanics or genre mix mash from other stuff that's already well established. Neko Ghost isn't that drastically different. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna try to sit here and say, oh, this is like super unique, blah blah blah. No, it's not. It's at its base, it's a platformer, right? It's a puzzle platformer. There's jumping, there's dying, there's enemies, there's a little bit of combat and stuff like that. Where we start getting a little bit different, however, is when it comes to the environmental puzzles, because it's not like other games where you have to actually start thinking, especially have some spatial awareness, and think, how do you switch between 2D and 3D cameras so that I can get through this puzzle at that time? Not only that, it's not just environmental puzzles, but also you have to think about the enemies you have to go against, or the bosses that we have, because you're gonna have to use all that you learn throughout the game to basically defeat enemies or bosses, right? You're gonna have to learn how to switch between 2D and 3D at the correct times, and then basically go into physical form and ghost form at the correct time so that you can solve puzzles, like I said, and combat all the enemies out there.
Okay, and what game engine are you using to make this, and what made you decide to use it?
So I'm using Unreal Engine 4. I learned Unreal Engine 4 in college at SCAD, and so it's been my main engine of choice. I've used Unity, Game Maker, RPG Maker. I've used I used Love a little bit too. I've used random stuff, but Unreal Engine 4 is definitely my bread and butter. It's the best one that I can highly recommend for any other indie developer too that's starting out. It's very easy for prototyping, especially with blueprints because of the blueprint scripting system. But then you also have C++, where you can start thinking about performance and also extendability of the game, right? Because you can easily extend Unreal Engine 4 because you have the source code available to you. So the ability to use both blueprints and also C++ basically at the same time, it's super powerful.
Yeah, I can imagine if you add things to the engine itself, then it would work better for the game.
Right.
What setbacks did you encounter during the project, and do you feel like you learned much from them?
Setbacks. So, setbacks, we've had quite a few different setbacks. The main one, honestly, the biggest main setback that I can think of, though, is we had a high turnover rate in the beginning and even middle of the development, especially when it came to the sound design. We're actually currently in our fifth sound developer. But gladly, he's planning on staying until the end, thankfully. He's actually our music composer. That's actually how I hired him first onto the project. And I asked him, I was looking for another sound designer, and then I was like, you know what, maybe he can do sound. So he ended up doing sound. He's been doing a great job so far. But honestly, it's a bit, it's a bit tough to say if I've learned anything from this. experience because there are actually really good reasons for a lot of the sound devs to leave, and I actually only had to terminate one of them for just not really fit in, not really getting the whole point of it. The game's really cute, and the game has a really cute and kawaii aesthetic. So I want that in the art, the level design, the character designs, and also the sound and music. So some people just aren't able to grasp that. They think every game's like Call of Duty or something. But it's really a luck of the draw type of deal too, because even the most experienced developer can suddenly become unable to work for any kind of reason. So it's one of those tough things where it's like, oh, okay, could I really learn anything? It's kind of luck of the draw. But that's one of the basically the biggest setbacks that I've had so far with development is turnover rate when it came to sound. But and it's kind of hard. I mean, really managing, especially this big of a team too now. It's pretty big. It's pretty I'm the only one working full time. I'm working 60, 80 hours a week. Everyone else is working 10 hours a week. Sometimes they work 15 hours, but usually the average for everyone, the bare minimum I tell them is 10 hours. So between managing 9 people, I also have to make sure that they're working enough hours so that the game can progress at a decent rate, so we can actually ship the game. Because I'm trying to ship the game this year, but it's kind of hard because they're all over the world also. So time zone differences is a big factor in project management. We do have daily scrums at a set time, and for the most part, sometimes everyone's there. Sometimes 7 out of 9 show up. Sometimes only half show up. So it's hard. It's really hard to manage a whole 9 different people. I include myself as 9, so 8 others across the world. I have a developer in Russia. I have one in Albania. Got one in Germany. We got 3 here in the United States. We got one in Canada. Really, yeah, we got them all over the place. We got one in Australia. So it's all over the place.
Yeah, indeed. You didn't just look at your own neighborhood.
It's tough. I mean, I live in Beaufort, South Carolina, and it's basically BFE. I mean, it's really backwoods country over here in South Carolina. I'm a little bit north of Savannah and south of Charleston, which are 2 big cities. But really, the indie scene here where I live, it's very small. So it's kind of hard to just let me start, open up a shop around here and expect people to come here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, same here. They tried it. If you can advise a new indie game developer, what will you tell them?
Start off slow. That's really my key point. I see a lot of developers that just try to jump in, and they don't read documentation. They don't do game jams. They don't do little prototypes. They try to do like a freaking MMO, the first freaking game. Like, who the freak does that? Like, no one's gonna That's no. Don't do that. Don't try to do Call of Duty. Don't especially multiplayer. I wouldn't recommend a multiplayer game for anyone for their first game. Get some experience first off. Do, like I said earlier, do some game jams. Game jams, there's tons of game jams. itch.io has game jams galore. Just jump on, do something for a weekend, start prototyping. If you can do them every weekend for a year, then after that 1 year, you're gonna have a lot of freaking experience. If you're using a game engine, read the freaking documentation. I can't stress that up enough. Learn how to Google. Like, if you're using UE4 space whatever question you have, press enter, you'll get something. Like, you'll definitely get something. Unity has some freaking crazy documentation too. Unity _ whatever. I mean, there's plenty of people on YouTube. They have like tons of freaking YouTube videos out there. The one thing also, if you're so you said indie developer. So indie developer is kind of tough, right? Like, how do when you say indie developer, are you saying like an all-in-one team? Are you going to do art, programming, sound, all that stuff? So if you're a solo dev, then you're gonna have to get used to like learning how to like research, right? And also understand that there's no right way. Typically, there's no right way of doing things. There might be more optimized ways. There, surely there are some terrible ways to do things, but there's no 100% guaranteed right way. So don't be afraid to think outside the box and do it. Implement something one way, and then later on reiterate and optimize it later once you learn and picked up skills.
Okay. Where do you think how do you think the current marketing strategies in the indie games industry are? What do you think about them? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean current marketing strategies in indie dev? There's none. I mean, honestly, so there was very little before coronavirus, but now that coronavirus has been like destroying in-person game events, in the current marketing strategies are invalid. Like yes, you have social media. So if you've been really good at social media or digital marketing in general, then you're going to do just as good, hopefully, as you are now with coronavirus. But even then, now you have a crap ton of people that are now also doing digital marketing because physical marketing is no longer viable. I started showing off Neko Ghost Jump at conventions last year. I went to DreamHack Atlanta 2019 in Atlanta, Georgia, and we did pretty well there. I got like over 200 email lists and a whole bunch of playthroughs from that. This year I went to PAX South 2020, and that was phenomenal for the game. We ended up with over 400 email subscribers and like a lot of nice media and press coverage. Excuse me. Went to DreamHack Anaheim 2020 also, and that was pretty good too. We only had a couple hundred emails, but we were best casual there. And then I went to PAX East 2020 right after DreamHack Anaheim, and I was part of PAX Horizon, and we got a couple hundred also emails from that event. But honestly, it's tough. There's so many games out there, not just indie games too, because you're not just competing against indie, right? You're competing against AAA, AA, AAA games, right? So, and they have much bigger marketing budgets than most indie devs, right? The good majority of indie devs don't have either any marketing at all or very low budget. I've been using my personal life savings basically for this game, and so I set aside money for marketing, but that's going to run out pretty soon, and so it's hard. Coronavirus has definitely made things much worse for indie devs. I mean, you got some digital events going on now, but most of the really good or big ones, either A, are super hard for indies to get into, or B, there are no showcases for indies at all. So, like, what is it? So basically, you're competing against a whole bunch of other really good games with huge marketing budgets or luck of the draw, and so it's really tough. Current marketing strategies, to answer your question simply, there really isn't any. I mean, really, you just got to do whatever you can on social media and hope the heck that you go viral, basically.
Well, it's nice to know that I'm very expensive.
Yeah. It's marketing. I mean, that's what I don't think indie devs really think about or consider is public relations, PR, and marketing. And those are honestly two different things. You definitely need two different firms handling, one for PR, one for marketing. But it's expensive. It's not cheap. I didn't realize how much money I was going to spend, and I spent a pretty penny already, and I still have plenty more to go. Because without PR marketing, without spending some money, no one's going to know about my game. It is honestly, I mean, I think I have a pretty cool game, but so do thousands of others, right? They think that they have really cool games, and they probably do. But if no one knows about your game when you launch, no one's going to buy your game either. So it's really crazy. It's really interesting out there.
Yeah, that's the thing with indie games. Your game can be amazing, but if no one knows about it, it won't sell.
Right, and then like it's really hard also because even with with the money that I set aside, again, literally now thousands of other developers are online now, right? They're trying to like get everyone's attentions, all the players' attentions, and honestly, I'm pretty terrible at digital marketing. I just found out. Like, I mean, I kind of already knew. Like, I'm really a in-person sort of person. Like, I'm really like a really hands-on. I'm a really good, like a salesman. I can really pitch something in person. I'll get you your attention. I will get you to play my demo, and hopefully you like, enjoy it or talk about the game. But digital marketing, it's like there's just too much noise out there. It's really hard to cut through that noise.
Especially when there's a lot of noise.
Exactly.
Where do you see the indie game market going in a few years?
Years. Whew. That's a good question. It's honestly tough to say. So I'm hoping, first off, that the Epic Games Store opens up finally to the public, right? So that once that opens up to the public, that's gonna be huge for indie devs. I'm telling you, huge. I think they'll still curate it, of course, but right now, well, not right now. So I actually started seeing some non-exclusive games launch on EGS recently. I forgot what the game was called, but it launched early access on Steam, and I guess it did very well enough where Epic was like, okay, whatever, you can launch 1.0 on Steam and on EGS at the same time. And so that's what happened. And so hopefully this is like a really like grand experiment on their part, and they'll start seeing like, oh, is this a viable option? Can we have non-exclusive games on EGS and still make money? So hopefully that is a success, because I want that to open up. I applied a few times and I get same lame response. Actually, it's a canon response, the automatic response of like, oh, blah blah blah. There's so many games, blah blah. When we open it up, we'll let you know. Whatever. Okay. But other than EGS, it's kind of tough to say if anything's really going to change. More and more people are still going to be You're going to start making games, right? Gen XYZ, Q, PT, whatever Gen, whatever we have in 5-10 years. It's going to grow. It's going to have another thousands of new solo devs or other dev teams that are coming up, right? We have a whole bunch of college graduates, high school graduates are making games now. So it's just gonna get worse. I won't say worse, but it's just you're gonna compete with more and more people and compete for other players' attention. There's gonna be more of a need for indie game specific PR and marketing firms. And you gotta be careful, because some firms claim that you can do both, but honestly, they're either bad at one or both parts, because those are two separate things. Like you need PR team to handle all your press and your coverage, media coverage, influencer negotiations, as well as like conventions, appointments, and stuff like that. But then marketing, you need people that can do the whole digital marketing type stuff. The stuff they can make pretty pictures, screenshots. They can post on social media at the right times. You use the correct hashtags. At the right people. That's a full day's work. So if you can have a dedicated person doing that on your team, which honestly I have like a million different hats I'm wearing right now, but I'm doing both PR and marketing plus everything else. It's tough, definitely tough. Also, I would love to see, and I'm hoping to see, more publishers open their arms to indies. You got some really big indie publishers like Devolver. What else is out there? Shoot, my brain is kind of brain fart here. But anyways, there's other indie publishers out there like Devolver Digital. That all in. Anyways, there's a whole bunch, and so I'm hoping that other studios, bigger studios, also start maybe getting into a separate branch. I think Sega even has one now. I think I've seen that actually. Sega has their own like little indie branch now. So I'm hoping like big AAA's do that. I think Epic Games just came out with their publishing thing a few months ago also. So I'm hoping to see more of that, basically. More publishing stuff from other people for indies.
Okay. Well, now we can go to the less hard stuff. Which game, indie or AAA, do you wish you have worked on?
Honestly, probably the new XCOM series. I kind of wish I would have been able to work on those, or actually a new XCOM game in general. I thought about it after graduation, like seeing if I should apply to Firaxis or whatever, but I decided to stay solo. Technically, I guess they're indie. They're just depends on how you define indie, I guess. They're definitely on the triple I side of indie, though. Double A. But yeah, I would love to work on a new XCOM series, and there might be a project in my future where I do something anyway similar to them.
What is your favorite video game of all time?
Well, that wasn't a clue earlier. XCOM. XCOM UFO Defense, also known as XCOM Enemy Unknown. Back in the day, I spent hundreds of hours on that game. Probably thousands of hours. It definitely. I spent a lot of my teenage years playing that game. That was such a great game back then. I mean, still a great game. I'll still load up every once in a while and play it.
And what is your favorite video game of this year and why?
Favorite video game and why? That's a tough one. There's been like so many games out there. Temtem, did Temtem come out this year? Yeah, Temtem was pretty good. Animal Crossing obviously is pretty good. I don't know. It's kind of tough. It's always just tough. When I play games, I don't typically sink as many hours anymore into games. It's more about research. So the fun part of video games, sadly, isn't there for me anymore. I just have too much stuff going on with managing my own project that games like that. But anyway, so like Temtem or even or Animal Crossing, it's just a relaxing game, right? Relaxing games that I can just relax and play and just sit down and take a couple hours, and I don't have to stress out too much. I did WoW before. I did a whole bunch of MMOs, and I would always stress if I missed a day, because then I wouldn't like rank up in Battlegrounds, or I wouldn't be able to level up, gain experience, as much experience as I need to, or even it's just League of Legends too was terrible for me. So like I try to steer away from very competitive games as much as possible, because it's just huge time sinks.
Okay, that was the final question. Do you have other things you want to say?
No, not really. We've got, right now we actually opened up our pre-launch Kickstarter page on Kickstarter. We're going to be shooting for a Kickstarter sometime this year, and over the next month or two or something like that. Just depends. We got a few things we got to work out still. But if you're interested in this game, I would please appreciate you join our go to our website. It has all our social media links, including the Kickstarter link. So NekoGhostJump.com.
I can also add all those links in the description.
Yeah. I would greatly appreciate any kind of follows on social media, either on the Neko Ghost Jump social media accounts or the Burgos Games social media accounts. But yeah, if this is a game that interests you, please follow us, join our Discord also, and keep in touch. We'll definitely, I really appreciate it, this interview opportunity also, so thank you.
No problem.
That's it.